And we will start with the readings, which are probably the most difficult, but which involves the least amount of words, and that is poetry. Okay, and then we'll move on to Frankenstein, and then the death of the salesman. One thing I'm worried about a little bit is that in the final exam will test you on both Frankenstein and death of a salesman. Right now I feel that the load might be too heavy for you. We'll see how it goes. If time allows, maybe we'll have the second midterm on May the 17th. We'll see. May the 17th, I arrange a time for review. Because, we might have something undone for Frankenstein. Or you might want to get Frankenstein over with then, so that in the final exam, you'll only have death of a salesman. Okay, so that's something we'll need to discuss. And as I wrote in the introduction, basically we follow the same method, and we have pretty much the same objectives. That is to help you understand literary text, to make you be more familiar with the literary techniques, different kinds of genres, and also to help you think about the issues discussed in the literary text and relate them to your own world, our own society. But one thing is new here, and that is besides the social dimension, we'll add the historical dimension. And that is we'll cover some literary texts, some really famous, great masterpieces from the past. So we'll cover the different centuries, and today we'll start with the Middle Ages. Okay. And to help you understand the text from different historical periods, or to get you to help each other bridge the temporal gap, 时间的那个隔阂, we designed a new activity called Poetry Teach and Learn Workstation. Let's take a look at I think the last page, the second to last page. This is something just for March, so you don't have time to procrastinate or to wait and try to choose the poem you like the best, because next week, this week, today you should have your group, and next week you should have chosen the poem. Okay, otherwise you will not be ready for it. Okay, basically the idea of workstation is to have you teach another group of students from the other section. Okay, and then you need to teach it in such a way that here we wrote down the descriptions that your students, feel that they understand the poem you teach, or and get interested in it, and can relate the poem to their own world. So these are the objectives. And because we matched the poem with some historical documentaries and also some films, you can also choose to not deal with a poem, but deal with a poet, like dealing with the life of a poet. Maybe some poets of the time past, like Renaissance, or Shakespeare could be one poet that you want to deal with, although his life is pretty much a mystery. We have the film Shakespeare in Love, which kind of invent a plausible love story of Shakespeare's. And then included in the course, we also have Bright Star, which is about the life of John Keats. And you can also do research online so that you don't choose a poem, but a poet. So a poet is also a choice. And we'll do the workstation on one day, Youth Day, 青年节, March 29th. And on that day, please mark it on your calendar. We need to start the class earlier because it will be a joint activity, and we need to give each group enough time. We'll start at 8:30. 8:30. In other words, no, it's pretty much like the play contest. I think you need to come, be in the classroom, probably at 8:20. At 8:20 on that day, okay. And then maybe the first each section will have about 100 minutes, and then you will be divided into 5 groups, and the 5 groups from the other section will go respectively to these 5 groups to learn from you, and then they'll rotate. So they'll learn from each of the 5 groups, and then we'll change roles. The other section become the teaching groups, and you be the learning groups to learn from the others. And hopefully, we'll see. I'll see how it goes. Hopefully, the 10 groups do not choose the same poems, and then you can learn from all the teaching and learning groups. And then we'll include what you teach and what you learn in the midterm, so that this learning activity should be something really important for you. Okay, and by doing the teaching and learning, or by designing it in terms of the different parts of a workstation, you should include maybe like a warm-up, a PowerPoint session to introduce, analyze the poem, maybe a media session. Sorry, let me show you this. Let me show you the website.学期的，好，因为那个网站还没有 不就是那个系网站还要改，可是你们把那个2010F 改成2011S，就是0改成1F，哎。F 改成 S 就是这学期的，好，we need a lot of discussion, so I printed this before I finalized the work plan with Doris. So the 2 versions are slightly different, but I think the online version is more accurate. So let me use the online version. 这个弄不大。Okay. Yes. We don't want to overuse the word workstation to confuse you. So I took off the workstation in the revised version. In the hard copy, you have the media workstation, PowerPoint workstation, but basically it means just different parts of your presentation. Okay, so a warm-up part, an explication part, representation of the poem from another perspective or through another medium. It could be a game, it could be a song, a singing part, or it could be a video, anything, you know. So you show the poem from another perspective, through another medium, to try to interest your students. Okay, and then Q&A session, and finally assessment. Right now, assessment means test. You have to test your students to see if they understand, if they get your main points. Of course, your lesson has to have a main point. Okay. And then finally, a summary. One thing right now we are worried about is 20 minutes might be too few for you, for each group. So we are thinking about like if you have 6 parts to your lessons, 6 parts to your lessons. Along the way, because you are going to teach the same thing to 5 groups, so you may want to make one part optional. In other words, say for instance you have 6 parts, and to one group you skip part 4, and to another group you skip part 5, and then you see how effective it is to have one part or to have another part. Okay, so in other words, for instance, for one group, you may skip the explication, and you do the game, you do the film, etc., and then finally you give the test. And then for another one, you have the explication, and then you can see whether your students get your messages the same, or whether there are differences. That should be something interesting. Okay, so this is a general introduction. I think as we go along, the ideas will be more concrete, and you can also ask questions, and then we'll discuss them. And then I'll also discuss with stories, and we'll answer their students' questions too. Hopefully, we'll get everything very clear. And the setting of the workstation will be most likely in LA 302 and 202, and then my office. The 3 rooms are close by. LA 302、202还有我办公室，就这样。然后 LA 302、202分2半，一共有5个空间，让5组同学在里面教学。Okay, so that's the basic idea. I want to let you know this as soon as possible because you really need to form a group, and then you need to be in good contact with this group, so that the first teach and learn activity, you can get organized as soon as possible. Towards the end of page 4, on page 5, we suggested a possible work schedule, and that means that next week you should have chosen a poem. Okay, and then you start to do research, and also you try to understand the poem. And online, we'll try to get enough materials for you. But of course, you can do your own research. Okay, later on, I will let you know some database in the library that you can use. But here, 怎么？哦，我知道，这是放大了。So far, this is all what we collected. Okay, there are quite a few films on YouTube, and also some important websites. This one will be continued to be updated all the time, and also at Insight. You know that at Insight there's a new course. So you choose 英文系课程2011S. You choose this course, and then sorry, I have too many courses here. Okay, yeah, this is still being built, so I don't have everything, but I have materials for the first 2 weeks, and also the film. The film Shakespeare in Love. And also some clips from Romeo and Juliet are here for you to download. How many of you have seen Shakespeare in Love? Okay, it's a very interesting film. You shouldn't see it as real. You know, it's not realistic. You know, because some people even say that the works attributed to Shakespeare can be written by different people. You know, so not too many things said about Shakespeare can be confirmed by historian. Okay, but this is a great film. It's a great fiction. Okay, and it helps us understand romantic love or courtly love quite a bit. Okay, so we'll try to provide you as much information as possible for you to be a good teacher or be a good teaching group on March 29th. Okay, and today we'll start with ballast. I hope towards the end of the class, I will show you a PowerPoint made by a group in the past, so that I will let you know how a traditional report is different from the workstation idea. They are different. You know, a traditional report can be less interactive, but with workstation, you really need to interact with your students and make sure that they get your point and they get interested. You know, being interested is also very important. Oh, the other thing, by the time you have the workstation, supposedly your students have known the poem. So you have to use that as a premise. They have some basic ideas about the poem, like you. They were taught in class about the poem. So you may not want to spend as much time as me and Doris do in class explaining the poem, because we've done that part. Okay, but maybe you want to pick up a few parts which you find difficult, or which we didn't explain clearly, so that in your workstation you reinforce some explication which was not clear up to that point. Okay, and then you go ahead with more creative ideas. Okay, this is a little bit like marketing, a little bit. You know, although your job is being a teacher, but sometimes teaching and advertisement are not really that different from each other. Okay, you pretty much need to persuade your students that what you teach is important, is interesting, etc. So that's what you need to learn to do. Okay? Any questions so far?